In a city that never seems to stop, where people rush like waves crashing endlessly against the shore, there lived a boy who could not see the colors of the world. He was blind. Yet, in the silence of his darkness, he heard everything. Every sound painted a picture that sight could never capture. His world was built from footsteps, whispers, sighs, and the echoes of lives rushing past him. Every morning, as the city awoke, he would sit quietly on a broken bench near the busy street, his ears open like windows, absorbing the symphony of humanity. The footsteps of a young man running past told him stories louder than any words. The sharp rhythm of worn-out shoes, colliding against the rough pavement, carried desperation. Desperation for survival, for employment, for acceptance. The boy could hear how the steps slowed at the crossing, heavy with exhaustion, then quickened again with the weight of dreams too large for fragile shoulders. He didn't need to see the young man's face. The sound told him everything. The hunger, the struggle, the fire, and the quiet sob that society never heard. One afternoon, as the sun burned above the city and shadows grew longer, he heard something else. The wheezing breath of an old man sitting on a bench in the park. The breaths were not just air. They were sighs, whispers of a life once strong and proud. Each exhale carried a complaint, not to the boy, not even to the world, but to the ghosts of loved ones who no longer cared. Once, when his arms were strong and his pockets full, he was surrounded by smiles, voices, affection. But now, his breath told the truth. Time had left him behind. The boy listened. He listened as the man's cane tapped against the ground, shaky and uncertain, searching not for balance, but for someone to stay. The old man coughed, and in that cough, the boy heard loneliness as loud as thunder. On another day, the boy's ears were met with something softer, more fragile, the muffled sobs of a paralyzed woman. She sat silently in her chair, her body frozen, but her tears were rivers that the boy could hear. He did not need sight to know that her eyes stared into an invisible prison. Each tear rolled down with a story of betrayal by her own body, a longing to run, to move, to embrace the world. The boy could hear her grief in the tremor of her breath, in the way her sobs choked halfway, as though she was tired of crying but could not stop. Her silence was louder than screams. He understood her pain, not through vision but through sound. And then there was a mother, rushing through the park, pushing a walker with her 2-year-old child inside. Her heels clicked against the concrete like a metronome, fast and impatient. She was in a hurry, too busy for the whispers of her child. But the boy heard something else. He heard the tiny squeaks of the walker's wheels, and in those squeaks, he understood the emotions of the child. The little boy was fascinated by the fountain at the corner of the park. The splashes of water called out to him, begging him to look, to laugh, to point with tiny fingers. But the mother's pace never slowed. The blind boy heard the frustration, the sadness, the helplessness of a child whose emotions were invisible to his own mother. That moment cut him deeper than any wound, because he realized sometimes even those with eyes are blind. At the bus stop one evening, the blind boy sat quietly while the city rushed around him. A man flipped through the pages of a newspaper beside him. The crisp crackle of the paper was interrupted by a small chuckle. "All is well," the man whispered to himself, but the boy tilted his head. He had heard something different. The trembling of the man's fingers, the way the pages shook slightly, the sigh between sentences. All of it told the boy that everything was not well. The world could be fooled by the man's smile, but not the boy's ears. The paper carried news of war, corruption, betrayal, despair. The man's laugh was not joy, it was denial, and the blind boy knew it. But the story of this boy is not just about hearing the pain of others. It is about the storm inside him. Because as much as he could feel the lives of everyone else, he could not escape his own loneliness. He often wondered, why was I given ears sharp enough to hear the world's soul, but no eyes to see the world's light? At night, when the city grew quiet, and the only sounds were the distant barking of stray dogs and the hum of flickering streetlights, he sat with his thoughts. In his darkness, he built a world of sound. one where every sigh was a story, every footstep a journey, every tear a confession. And yet he longed for more. He longed for a day when someone would sit beside him, not to speak, not to pity him, but to simply listen, just as he listened to everyone else. He wondered, do people even know how loud their souls are? Do they know their silence screams louder than words? One night, as he lay on the cold ground, the blind boy heard something he had never heard before. A small group of children laughing together. The laughter was pure, untainted, carrying no weight of society, no burden of survival. He smiled. For a moment, the darkness around him did not matter. That laughter painted colors in his mind, colors brighter than any sight could show. He realized then that while eyes may capture light, ears capture truth. But here is the truth no one wants to hear. The world is full of people who can see, yet they are blind. Blind to the pain of the old, blind to the dreams of the young, blind to the tears of the forgotten, blind to the emotions of their own children. And sometimes, it takes a boy without sight to show the world that blindness is not about the eyes. It is about the heart. And so, his story continues. Every day he sits, listening, piecing together the fragments of humanity that everyone else ignores. You might walk past him one day. You might not even notice him. But know this, he will notice you. Not with his eyes, but with the weight of your footsteps, the rhythm of your breath, the tremble of your silence. He will know what you carry, even when you tell the world, I'm fine. Because sound never lies. And maybe, just maybe, if you listen carefully, you too will hear it, the truth hiding in plain silence. So the next time you see someone rushing, or someone sitting alone, or someone silently suffering, stop, listen, because sometimes the world doesn't need more eyes. It needs more ears. And if this story touched your heart, if it made you pause and reflect, then stay with me. Subscribe to this channel, because together, we will listen to the voices no one else hears. We will uncover the stories buried beneath the noise, and we will remind the world that silence is not empty. It is full of truth. This is not just a story of a blind boy. This is the story of all of us.